Welcome back to the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast. A brand new guest for this newest episode. Please welcome Rob Ebel of ESP Media. Rob owns ESP Media, and we'll talk to him about how he started up the company, what's new for 2022, and so much more. But first, a word from this episode's sponsor. Hi, this is Lee W. Mowen of the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast, here to talk about BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. Welcome to the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast with Lee W. Mowen. The podcast talking local Cincinnati and Dayton, Ohio area sports. Listen on your favorite podcast platforms by visiting cindaypod.com. That's CINDAYPOD.com. Intro theme is Overdrive by Matrika from Uppbeat.io. Here's your host, Lee W. Mowen. And on the phone, we have Rob Ebel of ESP Media. Rob, good to talk to you again. How are you?
Lee W., how are you? Nice to be on your show. I know we've tried this a few times, and logistics just didn't work for us. And so today we're finally able to do this. And how about technology?
Gotta love it. I mean, especially when it works, right?
Yeah, but if it worked all the time, Lee, I wouldn't have a job.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess that's a good point. But it's good to have you on. It's nice to have you on. And it's nice to start planning for fall. I mean, I already got my first few events planned and ready to go. So I'm excited to get back in working with ESP.
Yeah, it's been great. This time of year, we're going through gear and making sure everything's still in working order and cleaning things up and interviewing prospective candidates for videography, production, play-by-play. So it's, the schools are in summer workouts, June and July, and we're certainly doing our summer workouts, getting everything ready for that first week. I guess it's that Friday's August 19th in Ohio. That's first week kickoff, but that golf starts early August, and but it'll be here before we know it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to another great year in Cincinnati area sports. So let's begin the interview. Where are you from?
I am originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. I grew up in Madera and have stayed here except for 2 years when I lived in Puerto Rico when I was working for Starkist Foods. The peaks of valleys of living in the Caribbean full time. In the winter months, it was fabulous, but summer months, it got a little toasty.
I can understand that. How did you transfer over into sports?
Well, I think back, I'm going to show my age. I was born in 1964. So I actually went to Crosley Field, and I can remember it. I remember when Riverfront opened in 1970, midway through the season. But I think that's what we did in the summertime. We played wiffle ball in the backyard, and, we played three sports. You played football in the street, and it's interesting now when you drive through neighborhoods, you don't see kids playing sports out in their yards like we used to. It's kind of changed, but I guess the neighborhood is what, and lifestyle back then, Lee. It was playing sports, doing the three sports, football, basketball, baseball. That's what most of us did back then. And it got us introduced. And heck, I don't even know when I started. I'm guessing 3, 4, 5. I don't know when. I don't even think we had T-ball back then. So I think we started with D1 and Madera Knothole. And I think it was Coach Pitch when we first started, whether it was, I don't know if it was D3 or D1, which was first, but I don't ever remember doing T-ball. But it's just what you did as a kid back then. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you drove through a neighborhood and you had a 3-on-3 football game in the street or a wiffle ball game? There's a couple Twitter sites that track, back in when I was a kid, and they always show the little wiffle ball and bat, and the wiffle ball that had the holes on the one side that, man, you could make that thing look like Gaylord Perry, and you didn't have to use any spit for it. But it was a fun time to grow up. I will tell you, we had 4 TV stations, and This Week in Baseball was a cool thing that we sat down with Joe Garagiola and Tony Kubek and This Week in Baseball. And, that was a big thing to get on the Saturday broadcast. Now, good Lord, there's high school baseball on ESPN now. So it's a different time. It's who says which one's better, but that's when I got introduced to it, and I just got in my blood, and that was something that was important in our family. And we played the 3 sports, and it was fun. It was a great childhood.
So we talk about your love of sports and getting into sports early on. So when did you make the decision that you wanted to have a company that helped cover sports?
Oh, goodness gracious. That was the furthest thing from my mind, because I worked 19 years. I graduated from UC in 87 and in business, and I worked professionally for 19 years in the financial side of things at Aircraft Engines and Formica and Starkist, and was the VP of Finance at Starkist Caribe in Mayaguez, Puerto Rico for 2 years. And Bill Johnson closed down our headquarters in Newport and moved everyone to Pittsburgh. And my wife and I decided we weren't going to move to Pittsburgh. And I took an exit package. And within a couple months of being a stay-at-home dad, I ran into Mike Cameron, my former coach at Moeller, baseball coach at Moeller, and he had heard that I was being a stay-at-home dad, and asked if I wanted to come back to Moeller and be a baseball coach on his staff. And before I know it, I started coaching baseball at Moeller in 2000, and I then added football to the inventory, and coached for 9 years at Moeller baseball and football. So it was 2 year-round sports. You don't think as baseball being year-round, but it was a year-round sport at Moeller, and football is definitely year-round. It was a great experience. We had several state championships in that run. It was fun. I got out in 2009 when we won state championship in 2009. And through my coaching of 9 years, I realized that there were some things lacking, game films, websites. When you go to try to scout your other team, nobody's website was any good. And, so I finished up in June of 2009. And right after that, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to start ESP Media. And at first it was just filming high school football huddle for Moeller football, because my dad did it when I was coaching, and he was getting up a little older, and it was a little harder for him to get up in the press box. So I said, I'll go ahead and film. And before I knew it, we put a name to it, and I was filming for John Rodenberg. And that's kind of where the whole thing started. And it's just it was organic, and it morphed just from some needs that I recognized from coaching. And, that's how the whole thing started.
We talked about earlier about how things changed, like, playing outside, was a big thing back then. And, back when you started coaching, we didn't have the websites we have today, like from ESP or, who's the company that makes all those conference websites around Cincinnati, Dayton. Those are great ones too. But
SID tools, I think it is.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool that you got, after coaching, it's like, wait a minute, there's needs, and just get off the ball rolling like that. So
yeah, and it. My uncle, who I'm named after, had a very successful production company, very successful in Chicago and Hollywood and Vancouver, and he did a lot of video production and was very successful. Won numerous Clio awards, and I knew when I got out of coaching that I wanted to do my own business because I was a big fan of Shark Tank, and I just didn't know where it was going to go. I had been DJing, since I was in 7th grade. So I had a love for the music, the PA, the behind the scenes things since I was in 7th grade. And I originally went to Ohio University in the RTV scripts program, but I only lasted a year in Athens. I discovered the Junction on Court Street and forgot about why I was there. So I switched majors and went back to UC and graduated in finance once reality set in. But yeah, so being in the supporting entertainment type of industry was kind of in my blood. I just didn't know how to get there. And it's kind of funny looking back and prepping for this interview, just kind of because I don't think about these things. And it's kind of funny how the whole thing came about.
So what were some of the steps into creating ESP Media and branching out from just, huddle filming to broadcast, websites, and what everything covers now for ESP?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that. There was one moment that changed everything. And John Rodenberg was the one who was the head coach at Moeller for 12 years. He is now, excited for me, he's back, and now he's the head football coach at Indian Hill. Mm-hmm. And he's a dear friend. And all the way back in 2011, so the company had been fledgling around for a year. He caught wind of this Nike rivalry campaign that Nike was trying to put together. And they asked schools around the country to put a video together about your school's rivalry. Mm. And John called me one day. He said, "Ebes, take a look at this and see if this is something we want to put together." Because at this point, all I was doing was filming. I was doing huddle filming for Moeller football, and I thought, okay, well, I certainly played back in those days for Coach Faust. I was on his last team, so I put together a video. It had to be no more than 5 minutes long on the rivalry, and Moeller had several rivalries, so I put a video together, and we submitted it to Nike. And what's interesting, Mark Doran went up to Canton because Mark was the direct ops director for Moeller football. Mm-hmm. And Nike had contacted Mark and said, "Hey, we need a representative for your video submission." And looking back on it now, it's kind of interesting. So there were 920 different submissions from around the country. And believe it or not, that video that I put together on the Moeller football rivalries won the Nike contest.
Wow.
And Moeller, from the contest, I know that I think they received $100,000 in uniforms for Nike by winning this contest. And somewhere on one of my sites, I still have that video listed somewhere. But that, Lee, is what put us on the map. Everyone was like, "Who in the hell's ESP Media? What are they all about?" And so that gave us an identity, and things just grew from there. Different ADs started calling, seeing what we were doing at Moeller with the websites and a mobile app. And because nobody was doing what we were doing there, we were setting the bar with new new websites. We were partnered with iHigh out of Lexington and just doing some great stuff. And, before you know it, Jan Wilking had called from Oak Hills. And so then I have Oak Hills, and we just started adding schools. Gary Crowley from Princeton called, and it was all organic because we weren't doing any advertising. And I was running it. I was running everything out of my basement, and got to the point where my wife was like, "Nah, time to get out of the house. Too much equipment, too much going on." And so that's kind of how things began. It was all just creating a need, setting a bar really high, trying to do great stuff for our clients, and people saw it and wanted to be a part of the good stuff we were doing.
What were some of the toughest steps to growing organically like that?
Lack of capital and lack of good people. I think looking back on it now, because I didn't want to borrow any money, which we did. We don't have any debt. And then just finding good people that wanted to come on, get on your bus and go with you. And I think that was the toughest part. And quite frankly, we didn't know what we didn't know. We were doing things, Lee, that nobody else was doing. And I'm sure we made some mistakes along the way. And we would, they'd tell us when we did, and we'd make changes. But, I remember a conversation when just in the last couple of years when Joe Roberts took the job at Princeton, and I met Joe for the first time, and I explained to him what ESP Media does and how we were kind of a full service high school sports media shop. And he looked at me and goes, "This is great." Because he was from up in Lexington, Ohio. He had never heard of anything like this. And so it was kind of for me, it was a feel-good moment with Joe, because Joe's extremely well-respected around the state of Ohio and the country, matter of fact. And for him to recognize what we were doing, and Joe's been all in with us, and he's been a great partner. And just, I kind of put my coach's hat on and figured out how we can help teams and programs to get better and do things. One of the taglines we use with our website business is, we let athletic directors be athletic directors, and we take over the media management for them, that they don't have to be social media managers. So it's finding out what high school teams, coaches, administrators need assistance with, and that's where that's where ESP has found our niche, coming in and helping them.
How about some of the most rewarding points in building ESP? You mentioned the video that helped win Bowler that Nike contest, but how about some of the other rewarding points?
I think that would have to be all of these state championships that the different programs that we've supported over the years have won. Whether it's Moeller football or any of the volleyball teams that we're associated with, St. Xavier lacrosse, Wyoming football, Wyoming soccer, just the whole laundry list of schools that we've been a part of, where they've won state championships, because that's their goal, is to get the ring. And, we're a dotted line support group to that. So I think that's one of the things. But recently we took on a support role with a student broadcast program here in Cincinnati. And one of the senior broadcasters I kind of took under my wing this year, and just had a great experience with this senior broadcaster. And things went so well for him this year that he got a scholarship out west to a very known broadcasting school, and to get the note from him on the support that we gave him just meant a lot. There's no state championship there, but for him, that was his state championship. His reward was a scholarship to a very well-renowned broadcasting school out west. And I couldn't be happier for this guy. And, he was a great student. He listened and he applied, and it really worked out for him. So, there's gold nuggets all along the way. They don't necessarily. It doesn't have to be a season if they won a state championship, but all the teams that we've supported over the years, I think back to a broadcast. I think it would have been the regional finals in boys soccer last year. We did a student broadcast. Lee, they had 8,200 viewers to this broadcast for a high school soccer match.
Wow.
And the team we were supporting didn't win, didn't go on to the Final Four. But just to think that we were a part of delivering that broadcast to 8,000 fans for high school soccer, it's pretty solid.
Absolutely. I mean, that's huge. And also, Maher, right? He's the guy that got that scholarship at Arizona State.
He did. Yes, he did.
That was so cool to see. I mean, he's got a bright future.
Yep. He's, did you work with Mahir by chance?
I don't think we ever crossed paths, but I remember telling him, hey, if you ever want to talk, I'm always here. So, but I don't think we ever.
I think we were on one
crossed.
of the teaching podcasts, I think, that we did.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was a cool experience and something I've always wanted to help do is teach, broadcasters what to do, what not to do. So that was probably the coolest thing I've had happen in a while.
The thing that I've always made sure in August 1st, we'll be starting our 13th year. Mm-hmm. All the support we do, it's not about us. We're there for the coaches. We're there for the student athletes, to the administration. You're not going to see my face. I do have my name on the company, but this isn't about me. I had my 15 minutes. We're here to support and make things better for our clients. And it will always be that way. You won't see me in front of the camera because I had my time. I don't need that. I'm here to help everybody else out to get there. And I think that approach, I know it's been appreciated by numerous members of the Cincinnati media. And they tell me about it, and it's just nice to hear.
Absolutely. So we mentioned ESP Media start off with like a huddle like thing for Moeller football, but what all does ESP Media do? Well,
our biggest piece of business is our website business. We partnered 6 years ago with Sidearm Sports based out of Syracuse, New York. And Sidearm is the largest developer and manager of athletic websites for the collegiate ranks. And we partnered six years ago with them to kind of flagship their high school division. And we run 32 websites here in Kenwood, in Chicago, Toledo, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. We run from our headquarters here in Kenwood. That's our biggest piece. We also, over the years, have it was really COVID driven. Done a lot of broadcasting. We do video and audio broadcasting. Most recently, we worked with Flow Sports out of Austin, Texas, and they took a chance on us and a company called Vibe out of Houston to see if the high school pay-per-view model would take off. And I warned them that I thought the only reason it took off to the level that it did 2 years ago was because of COVID, and there was a need. So we partnered with them for two seasons, and we parted ways after the second season, and we're back just on our standalone doing pay-per-view for our clients. So that's a business. Mobile apps, and we added a division for government work that we support several townships and cities in the greater Cincinnati area, doing specialty videos, podcasts, and trustee and council meeting videos. And it's become a huge, become a huge portion of our business. But that's kind of really our focus. We do websites, mobile apps. We do huddle production for different sports, and then our government piece.
You mentioned broadcast, so I'll skip to this next question. What's new for the upcoming year?
Well, I'm really excited about this. We're probably letting the cat out of the bag, but I'm okay letting you have this little nugget, Lee. The press release will probably go out next week that ESP Media has partnered with the ECC here in Cincinnati, that we believe it's the first conference network in the state of Ohio. We are going to be broadcasting, we'll be broadcasting every week football, boys and girls soccer, and girls volleyball. And it looks right now that the broadcast will be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and there will be 3 broadcasts a day. And that will be on eccbroadcast.com, I believe, is the domain. And it's extremely exciting that we're connected with 10 schools, great conference. I know that if I don't put this up on my laptop, because I want to make sure I get all the schools represented on this, but we're pretty excited about it. We've been working on it for quite some time, and the time was just right. So Anderson, Kings, Lebanon, Little Miami, Loveland, Milford, Turpin, Walnut Hills, West Claremont, Winton Woods. It's just a great partnership. I've met with all of the ADs, the principals of the schools. They're all 10 are in, and it's just going to be a great partnership. And Ray Spiker, the commissioner of the ECC, has been a delight to work with, and we just couldn't be more excited to let this thing get rolling.
It's a continuation of that partnership from the winter. I had the honor of broadcasting all those winter sports championships. My first time ever broadcasting cheerleading and dancing, which, by the way, thank you for setting me up with a color commentary, because if I didn't have one, I don't know how well I would have done.
Well, you know what? That was actually, and I didn't tell anybody this, that was our trial run. And the schools wanted to see our production value, how we did things. And I put my A team on it. And you guys, what we did, swimming and diving, wrestling, and then cheer and dance. And it was an absolute home run. And, once we delivered those broadcasts for the winter championships, it was just working out all the details, and it's just been a fun process.
Absolutely. And again, getting the chance to do that was a big honor too. And you get to see so many great schools and great kids, do their thing. A lot of them going off to state championships and, representing Cincinnati so well. So absolutely.
And, that's one of the things that's great about ESP is we try not to say no when someone comes to us about broadcasting something out of the big 3. When we took the first meeting and they said that, cheer and dance, wrestling, and swimming and diving, I'd be lying if I didn't say I paused. And then I shared it with you guys. And I said, and like you said, I think the only caveat we had was for cheer dance. We asked for somebody to be on to educate us. I said, we'll be glad to do it, but we need somebody there. And the conference set us up with somebody great. And it worked out super. And then Princeton was fabulous from a pool perspective. You had done some Viking swim meets there, and it's just a great pool to broadcast from.
No question about it. And I love swimming and diving. I only got to announce it before broadcasting for ESP, but it was something I was familiar with. So I was like, okay, Yeah. But yeah, Princeton's pool is awesome.
Yeah, great facilities. So we're terribly excited as a company, and I know the ECC as well, because it's a nice feather in their cap, because they can promote that they have their own broadcast network.
Absolutely. And plus, there's families outside Cincinnati, and they can see their kids, grandkids, what have you, and they don't have to be at the venue to do so. But, that's really cool.
So press release probably next week or August 1st is going out on that, and it's just awesome. I think that week of the 19th will be our first broadcast, and there'll be plenty of stuff in the information about that out in the media.
And with ECC networks starting up, the other schools will still get their coverage in too, correct?
Yeah, we're still working on that. We've got broadcast clients that we've had for years and years. That's one of the things I've been working on today that I spoke to you about before we went live, is just lining up interviews to try to find enough staff. We've all heard about how small businesses, restaurants, they have staffing issues. We have the same thing, because we've got to staff now these 12 new broadcasts for the ECC, but then we also have clients that have been broadcast clients for years that we also have to staff. So it's certainly affecting everybody.
So let's talk about the schools and sports. What all is covered with your company?
Let's go by season. Fall season, we cover football, girls volleyball, boys soccer, girls soccer, cross country, golf, and tennis are kind of interesting options. I know that we do broadcast a few cross country invitationals. Mm-hmm. I know we have one October 1st at St. Xavier High School that will be broadcasting. It's a whole day event. I think we're on the air for 9 hours that day.
Wow.
Golf, one of the things that we're going to try with one of our clients this year is we're going to interview some of the golfers before they go off on 10 or 1, I guess, in the parking lot, and before they go and warm up. We're going to try to show golf some love. Tennis, we still haven't figured out that one. It's just so hard to figure out how to cover tennis unless they're at the regional finals up at the Mason Center, to get a camera angle, to get power, to be able to do it. Tennis is one we have not been able to tackle. In the winter season, certainly boys and girls basketball, wrestling, swimming, we have done numerous meets of boys and girls swimming. Bowling was one we tackled head on last year, and it was a blast. Holy cow. Lee, were you on any of those bowling broadcasts?
I was scheduled to, but then I got switched, so I still haven't got a bowling meet done, but hopefully this winter, you'll save me one.
Yeah, I know in one of the ECC meetings, Tony Hemmelgarn mentioned how he went to Cherry Grove Lanes and walked in, and Richard Skinner was broadcasting ECC bowling. I believe it was Turpin versus Anderson. The house was packed, and it was just a great broadcast. Skinny used to do BPA King of Bowling for Channel 9, so it was like you had Channel 9 on your TV. It was fabulous. So that was a great ad for us last year. Cheer and dance. We handled the ECC championships, cheer and dance, and I'm sure we'll be back again this year. Spring season, baseball, softball, and lacrosse, boys and girls lacrosse, track, and once again, tennis. Track and tennis, I guess, are the two sports that we have yet to tackle broadcasting. Track and field, I think, would be similar to cross country because the matches are so long and there's so many things going on at the same time. I'm not sure how we would cover it, but if there's a way, we'll figure it out. In tennis, it's just like with boys, it's just like the girls. It's tough. It's tough to figure out. And then boys volleyball in the spring has been a big sport of ours for a long time.
And with that partnership with OHS BVA too, getting to do the regional finals and state finals up in the Columbus area, that's huge too.
Yeah, we just finished up our 12th year with them, and it's been a great partnership. One of the probably the top three in my 12 years doing this. It's the partnership, the relationships, the people, and watching the sport grow into an emerging sport in the OHSA. I mean, it literally took them a dozen years to get there, and we were associated with them for every year, and to watch it grow and watch the sport get better each year. And I know I was partnered with you up at Westerville Central. Mm-hmm. it's good volleyball.
Absolutely. No question about it. That and girls wrestling now an OHSAA sport.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be huge this year as well, especially Lebanon. Their first year, they were dominant. I mean, we got to catch a few of those bouts before the boys would wrestle, and wow, they were really good.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And then to watch lacrosse where it's come in the last 12 years. Wow.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, getting to do CHCA a few times this year, I mean, those were some really good teams.
Yes. I'll show you how old I am. I used to broadcast CHCA's coach when he played at Moeller. So he's now the head coach at CHCA, and they had a nice team this year.
It's a small world, isn't it?
It is a small world.
So how about the schools? We mentioned the ECC is completely covered. Those 10 schools.
I don't know if I don't want to bore the listeners at home with all 32 schools, but we go as far north as Chicago, far north, I guess northwest of Chicago. We've got a couple schools in Toledo, mainly the greater Cincinnati area. I'd love to grow into the Chicago market, Dayton market. It's just a tough area because I know when I used to look at the websites and try to get information, the Columbus sites could use some updating. We'd love to get in there at the Columbus and get some of those schools and manage their sites for them. So if any of the Columbus schools are listening and are curious, they can go to espmediasn.com and see our work. We'd love to talk with them.
I know I've been blessed to cover Princeton sports for the past 2 seasons. And my first year, it was Loveland football, and that was really cool. It's really cool to be able to come back to Loveland as well this year. So
it's the thing that's key with me, Lee, and why this has worked is because it's all about building relationships. And I had a coach that I worked with for years, Mike Jones, who taught me about relationships. And that's when an AD moves schools and they call you to come and work for them at another school, that's when you know you've got a relationship. And, they trust you that you're going to do a great job for them. And that's what's important to us.
Who are some of the folks that get to help out with ESP Media other than myself?
Well, it's just you and I, Lee. That's it.
Wow, we cover a lot of miles.
Right now, I think, first and foremost, my son, Elliot Ebel, he's been with me now. Let's see, this will be, do the quick math. He'll be starting his 9th year with me. He handles anything and everything that you see on the websites that we operate for ESP Media. That goes through his department. He handles all that. I turned the keys over to him 4 or 5 years ago as the media side of the house was growing, and he's just championed the whole thing and just absolutely done a heck of a job. It's been fun to watch him grow that piece of the business, and it's fun. The other portion is we've got longtime employees that are contractors. I think we're up to 42 total right now. To make this thing go, which I never thought in a million years that we'd be up to 42 people. But I was thinking back, who's been with me the longest? And I think it has to be Mike Reeder. I think Mike's been with me since the get-go. Greg Matangahan, my brother-in-law, has been with me close to as long as we've had this company going. I actually coached at Moeller with Mike because Mike was the varsity hockey coach at Moeller for 15 years, and our paths crossed when we were coaching, and had a friendship, and so that just started. And I've got broadcasters that have been with me for a long time. Greg Waddell's been with me a long time. Zach Waddell, his son. Zach's a great producer for us. If I hit a whole list, Richard Skinner's been with us for about 5 years. He does a great job broadcasting. John McCracken is the relative of one of the athletic directors at Princeton. And I reached out to one of them and said, man, I need some help. And so John called me, and I think John's about ready to start his 6th or 7th year with us. So I know I'm not listing 42 people, but there's just a lot of great people. Lee, yourself, Sammy Joe Pruitt. We've got great people. I consider them family. I know that I'm leaving a lot of people out. I'm not doing that, but you kind of caught me off guard on that.
That's my fault. I'm sorry, but that 42 people's a lot. And plus, Greg Waddell, former guest on this podcast. Hopefully I get Richard Skinner on one day. He's the sports anchor at Local 12, CBS in Cincinnati. So yes. There's a lot of great names of ESP. And, I haven't worked with anyone that I didn't like. I mean, it's great people. So excited.
That's great. In fact, I'm gonna while we're talking, I'm going to call up my list. So I'm going to make sure that I don't miss anybody.
No, that's all right. So let me ask you. You produce on the side a few years that I've been with ESP. I mean, you said that we worked together at Westerville Central. What's some of your favorite venues you got to work for?
Wow. Steve Albrink's a name. I'm going through my list. Steve's fairly new with us, but still done an unbelievable job.
Absolutely.
Zach Connor's been a great addition to us. I've mentioned Greg Waddell. Just give me a second here. Jason Griefer, great announcer. Hopefully we're able to keep him around. Colin Cruzy's been a great. I know you've worked a bunch with Colin.
Yeah, Colin's been my main producer for fall and winter. And then spring, It was Steve mostly. But hey, like I said, I love working with everyone.
Jay Lackey, Maria Meese. Just give me make sure. I just want to make sure if anybody goes back and listens. Brandon Robinson. I mentioned Skinny. Zach Waddell. And Alex Leeds. Alex has been a great ad for us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Ask me that question. Oh, venues.
Venues.
I have to say, we've been fortunate enough to work with clients that go pretty far in tournament play. And the further you go in tournament play gets you some really nice venues. Just off the top of my head, when Mulber basketball was making those consecutive runs to the Final Four, broadcasting from an executive suite at the Schottenstein Center was a lot of fun. I would rent out a suite and we would broadcast from it instead of being down on the floor. And it was kind of our end of the year party, if you will, for our winter sports broadcasts. So that was big. Fawcett Stadium, once they put in all those millions of dollars to make it NFL worthy, is a beautiful place to broadcast from now. Nippert Stadium's fun for football.
It's just too bad high school football can't play at Nippert anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of fun to be there for that. Baseball wise, we've done Great American Ballpark, which is fun. But I got to tell you, I think I like being at, I'm going to call it Marge Schott Stadium at UC. Is a nice yard to broadcast baseball. Everything's right there. It takes forever to get to your broadcast booth at Great American. I like broadcasting from St. Xavier because you've got such an elevation that you can see everything great. Unless the opposing team wears jerseys that you can't read the numbers, that makes it hard.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a new rule kicking in, I think, next year, that you can't wear those type of jerseys, but we'll see.
Yeah. Trying to think what else. I'm going to say, it's hard for me to say this as a UC Bearcat, but Cintas Center. Cintas Center is a great place to broadcast from.
Yeah, that looks like a really great gym.
Oh boy, they allow Cintas folks allowed us to set up where Byron broadcast from, and it was pretty special sitting there. Great vantage point, great sight lines, great sound levels. Just was Cintas, a pretty great place.
I mean, locally, I love Princeton's setup at football and basketball because it's, there's great sites there, and just the massive gymnasium they have is wow.
Yeah, as far as high school gyms go,
yeah,
I think Princeton's got to be tops. And you know what? Their football stadium is right up there as well for high school.
I like Loveland's too. I mean, we were on top of the press box, but there's just something about it. Just like it reminds me of home with all the woods and everything. So I think that's why I like Loveland a lot too. We don't have a shortage of good venues to call from.
Yeah, it's we're very fortunate. All the ECC facilities are all top notch.
Now I'm really going to put you on the spot with this question, Rob.
Go for it.
Your favorite moment or achievement while running ESP Media?
Favorite moment?
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned it before. If we don't win that Nike contest, which we entered it, we didn't think we had a chance in hell. I mean, here's this guy that I coached for 9 years, and pretty much the new head football coach says, "Hey, why don't we take a stab at this?" So I took a stab at it, and I think it changed the whole direction of my company by winning that Nike rivalry contest. I think that catapulted us and allowed us avenues and lanes that if we don't win that, I think there's roads that we never would have been able to be on. So I think I'll go back to a story I mentioned earlier in the podcast. I think it was winning, and it's the first thing you see when you walk into my office here. When you walk in the door, look left. I've got the Nike certificate. It's the first thing you see, and I don't tell anybody that, but that's the first thing you see when you walk into my place is the winning certificate of that contest. And I put it there subtly, and I've never shared that with anybody, but that's why I put it there, because it kind of drove everything we did.
I mean, just to think about it, I mean, if you don't beat out close to 1,000 other schools in that contest, I mean, what does the company look like, at this point?
Right. I might just be filming freshman football from Moeller still.
And now, I mean, look what all ESP does. I mean, we got Cincinnati locked down pretty well.
Yep. It's pretty fun, Lee.
So let me ask about the future. We talked about the ECC network a bit, but what are some of your goals or future plans you like to accomplish?
It's a fine question, young man. Goals. I would like, I think really is just continue what we're doing, supporting our clients that continue to want to be partnered with us, and knowing that we go the extra yard, the extra mile, whatever it takes to support our clients in whatever they need. I think that's my goal, is to continue what we do. And, with this media business, things change every 2 years to 3 years. I think that the equipment that we used 12 years ago that's mothballed on shelves in our storage unit, you just have to continue evolving and finding out what's important, stay connected to these programs. I think that's the goal, is to continue to remain relevant as a support function for your clients in whatever capacity that they need, because each sport's different. Some sports don't use huddle. Some live by it, just different things. It's hard for us to support a tennis program, but we do on the website. But if there's something that we could ever do with a tennis program, I'd love to figure out a way to help them. And, so just to remain relevant, to continue to do great things for our clients. And, I would love to grow our government business more and pick up other communities and townships, because I've seen the importance in what we've done there, and where we are able to get in was price. There's only one other game in town that does what we do in the government sector. And the reason we were able to get in there, Lee, is because we were able to save these townships and municipalities a lot of money. So it's that's one of the pieces I'd love to advance some more.
I'll be honest. I think this is the only interview I've done with a special guest that talks about the government side of things.
Yeah. I will tell you that there were some trying times when COVID hit, and if it wasn't for the government stuff, I don't know that we'd be here. When we lose 8 months of revenue, I had to reinvent what we were doing. And I got some help from our landlord. I got some unbelievable help from Tom Weedman at Sycamore Township, introducing me to people in other townships and municipalities that what Tom did is he got me in front of these people. He got me a listening ear, and I told him what we could do for him. Rich Wallace had set us up. We've been at Amberley Village doing all their media for 8 years. And so we had a little bit of a resume and some government work, albeit small. And some townships took a chance on us. And it's just been a great partnership. And it literally saved the company, Lee. I didn't have to move out. I didn't have to lay anybody off. It saved us.
It's really incredible to think about, too. I mean, with the government side of things, on a sports podcast like this, I didn't think that, we would dive into anything like this. And it's something that I constantly forget about. It's like, oh, yeah, we do help out. I know Sims Township was one. Columbia Township is another. And Amberley Village, like you mentioned.
Sycamore Township.
And Sycamore Township. That's right. But, man, that is really cool. I mean, just not only just sports, but government side. Just it's multifaceted. It's a multifaceted company.
Yeah, and if you think about it, when we broadcast a township or a council meeting, we still have a production switch. We're running 3 cameras. We'll run a PTZ camera. We've got microphones. We're tapping into PA systems, and we're broadcasting it on Vimeo Live. It's no different. It's just our subject's different. We got graphics on the screen. We got a start time. We got a stop time. It's we just have different subjects, and what they were getting charged by the competitor, it was unbelievable when I was told that. And I looked at him and I said, hey, we can save you some money here and probably deliver you a better product. And now we have long-standing relationships with these places that we're on 3rd and 4th contracts with certain townships, and it's been great. And it saved us. I swear, it was. I get choked up when I see Tom and I start talking about it, because this ESP Media, due to COVID, would have. I think we would have been 86 if it wasn't for the government piece.
Rob, what would you like to see in the future of media in Cincinnati? You being a media business owner, what do you want to see out of Cincinnati in the future?
Well, the one thing that I would like, and I have voiced this to Jan Wilking, to Joe Roberts, to Scott Kaufman, is we have these production companies in the greater Cincinnati area that broadcast for these schools for an entire season. And then we're allowed to broadcast for them for, let's say, 5 state matches. Then when they get to the Final Four, we have to go home. We can't follow it through because of the exclusive contract that the OHSAA has with Spectrum. And no disrespect to Spectrum, But the one thing I would love to know is how many percentages of people have Spectrum in the state of Ohio. I can't believe it's more than 20. But the thing that's frustrating for me is that we're unable to broadcast these matches till the end. And that would be one thing I'd love to see changed, not just for ESP Media, but for any of the other companies that do it. It's kind of an empty feeling. It's frustrating. And we've had to experience that numerous times, because it's not the same when you broadcast audio-wise when you've done video broadcasts for the whole season.
Yeah, I mean, the Princeton football playoff run, the second game against Sycamore, it's just we weren't able to do so because Spectrum, and it sucks because I've been with these guys for 10 weeks. I traveled with these 11 weeks. I've been with these guys pretty much the entire season. And then here's OHSAA.
So you know exactly what I'm saying. You lived it.
Yeah, it's I know why, because it's money, but it's still like we've covered this team throughout the entire thing. And again, no disrespect to Spectrum, but it's like you guys are just coming in like you guys haven't seen this team like I have. I've seen this team the entire time. I know who's, to watch. And yeah, you can get that off stats, I guess, but it's not the same. And it's just,
so that's one thing. I think that's the one thing that I would like to see changed. And if there was one thing that good that came out of COVID is that we all got a lot better at video streaming, because nobody was really doing it to any success prior to COVID, and the public demanded it. Grandma and grandpa in Naples wanted to be able to watch their nieces or nephews play. And, the platforms have been there for us. And, I know we're a better streaming company because of COVID than we used to be.
We learned something new during that shutdown.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Yeah, it's made us all hungry, just reevaluate everything. It's been great.
So you mentioned that you're currently hiring for play-by-play, videography, producing. If those folks that are listening to this podcast want to join the family, what advice could you give to them?
Well, I would tell them to email me at sales@espmediasn.com, SN as sportsnetwork.com. Send me a note, and I can send them some links on the jobs that we have posted on Indeed, and let them fill them out and just go down the path and see if we can make a partnership.
I think about, me. I think about when I applied for ESP Media, and I remember I already booked my soccer schedule as PA announcer for Wright State and University of Dayton. And then week 4, I get the opportunity to broadcast, and here I am. And now ESP is my main gig during, school years. So
pretty exciting.
I often think about that, and it's like, wow, from just doing Loveland football that one season to now I get all these sports in Cincinnati, and the city that I love the most. And it's just, I think about that all the time. I'm very grateful for that. So,
well, you've been a great addition, Lee. I mean, this fall, I think I'll have you working 5 days a week.
Hey, I'll take it.
You've been a great ad. I know you're a great cheerleader for what we're trying to do. You do a great job on all your broadcasts. I know every school that you go, they loved having you there, and we love Lee. And I hear that from everybody. So it's been a great partnership.
And I love everyone. So definitely. And thank you, Rob. And this is going to be really cool with the ECC network. So I'm looking forward to my 4th year with the company.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I know we've got a great presence on social media for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Elliot and Steve handle all that. On Twitter, we're at ESP Media SN, and I think it's the same for Instagram. And I know that if you search that on Facebook, you'll see us in there.
I think that's correct too. I believe that's ESP Media SN. How about you? Do you want to throw your social media link out there?
No, it's not about me, my friend.
Okay.
If they want to follow ESP Media, they can do that, and they need to get to me. Just send it to that email address.
Rob, you got any final words for this episode?
Well, I'm glad we persevered and were able to pull this off, Lee. Congratulations to you for doing 244 episodes. 244 of anything is a lot. So congratulations for your longevity with your podcast. And I hope the fans feel like they got some nuggets from this podcast and stuck with us during this whole time. And I appreciate you, Lee, for all the things you've done with us for the last 3.5 years. And I appreciate the friendship.
I appreciate your friendship too, Rob. And here's to another great year with ESP. And it's only about a month until I'm at West Claremont against Hamilton. So that's going to be a lot of fun to see. And I'm looking forward to helping, this company even more and growing along, as we continue on.
Onward, Lee. Let's have another great year, and I will see you soon.
I'll talk to you soon, Rob. That will do it for this episode of the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast. We'll talk to you again next time. Thank you for listening to the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast with Lee W. Mowen. Be sure to bookmark CindayPod.com, spelled CINDAYPOD, the official website of the podcast. You can find your favorite ways of listening to the local Cinday Sports Podcast, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, Pandora, Amazon Music, the iHeartRadio app, and many more. You can also purchase merchandise from TeePublic and Redbubble to help support the podcast. Follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at CindayPod, and the host at the Lee W. Mowen. The closing theme is Cosmopolitan from Pecan Pie on Uppbeat. This is Lee W. Mowen signing off another episode of the Cincinnati and Dayton Sports Podcast. Thank you for your continued listenership, and join me on the next episode.